introduction that was, isn't it? Yn gyntaf, diolch yn fawr iawn chi gyd am ddod yma heno. Gwych gweld gymaint o bobl yma. Thank you so much for coming this evening. Great to see so many of you here this evening. And isn't it encouraging that we can come out this evening? You've all been delivering, I know, leaflets and campaigning today. So you're allowed to sit down for the next half an hour, but then you have to go out again. Listen, I'm going to start on a negative point because I am fed up. I really am. I'm fed up of being Billy No Mates in Senedd. For the past 5 years, as you know, I've been the only... No, I'm not even going to be saying that because I am not going to say the only. I am saying I am the Liberal Democrat in Senedd. I'm the spokesperson on everything. I don't want to be there if I'm re-elected and in that position. I want a team of people around me. And one of those I'm really hoping will join me is Rodney. Now, let me just say this. I looked up a word tonight because I wanted to find an alternative. I'm never keen on the word deserve. I don't know what you feel, but I kind of think we don't deserve anything in life. But I did find some other alternatives. They are merit, earn, well earned. And the definition is to do something or have or show qualities worthy of. Now, that is Rodney. Rodney has worked his socks off for decades, it's fair to say. Has stood in elections, has supported other candidates as well, has been up in by-elections, including my own, has been around the country, has shown the qualities needed, in my view, to be elected to be your Senedd member on May the 7th. We need your help, though, as you've heard, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Let me just start this part by just talking a little bit of why the Welsh Liberal Democrats, because you'll all have been out on the doors, or been talking to people, or been delivering leaflets, and people have been saying, well, why should we vote for you? Why should we vote for Rodney? Why should we vote for me in Bermans town here? Well, let me start, which I know is not great, with some of the other parties. We have Plaid Cymru who want independence. That's what we should be focusing on in our messaging. They want to tear us from the UK. Now, I'm not great on the economic arguments of independence because actually there isn't a lot of evidence as yet around what the effect would be of independence. We know actually independence would cost us a lot at the beginning, but arguably there may be an economic argument that would be better in the long term, but we don't know. But the big thing for me is my heart. My heart says, I wanted to stay in the European Union. I wanted to be part of a bigger team, a bigger family. And actually taking us away from the UK would be exactly the same as the principles that we wanted to stay in the EU. We're better together. We're better as a team. We're a family of nations. We work better together. That's why we, with our hearts, do not want independence. That's what the Greens want as well. And not a lot of people know that, to coin a phrase. Not a lot of people know that the Greens want independence. So you have to be telling people you know that vote Green and you'll get independence. In fact, vote Green and there's no difference from Plaid Cymru. I'm not even going to touch on the Conservatives and the Labour. We know that their vote is waning in, big time. We know that, sadly, some of their supporters are going over to Reform. But let me just say why I am really up for this fight. I'm up for this fight because I didn't do enough to keep us in the EU, what was nearly 10 years ago. I just thought it'd be fine. I thought surely people will vote to keep us in the European Union. Surely they won't vote us out, one of the biggest export markets not showing popularity, it's going down. But actually, the doors that I knock on, sadly, I'm hearing time and time again, people are going to vote reform. So we really need to rise up to that challenge, because we cannot have, on May the 8th, a reform government in Wales. Because let me just remind you, the Conservatives have not ruled out doing a deal with reform. So could you imagine the nightmare government that we could have in Wales? Reform and Conservatives together. That would be an absolute disaster for Wales. So, Welsh Liberal Democrats, what do we stand for? Well, you've heard it said from Joe. We do stand to represent the vulnerable. We do stand to make sure we're there tackling poverty. Do you know that child poverty in Wales is at 31% now? 31% after 27 years of labour.
Shame.
We stand to make sure that we get proper funding into social care, because we know that if you get money into social care, it helps the front door and the back door of our hospitals. Right now, this very second, there are 1,500 people in the hospitals in Wales waiting to go home. And they can't go home because they can't get a social care assessment or can't get a social care package. 1,500 people's lives are being affected, and sadly for many of them, every day and every hour that they spend in hospital, things get worse for them. So by the time they do get out, they're in a much worse position. We want free childcare. We want free childcare because that helps child poverty, and that helps children start school in a better place, and that helps get our parents into work. We want to tackle river pollution. We want money to go into water to make sure that the bosses in Jewel Cymru actually don't get those massive bonuses and put it into cleaning up our rivers and our beaches. We want to make sure that we keep our young people in Wales. Now, when we hear on the doorsteps and from reform that the biggest problem facing our country is immigration, I've got lots of things I could say that aren't very polite. But I say, actually, the biggest problem is emigration. It's our young people leaving us. That's what we should focus on, making sure we keep our young people in Wales through better jobs, better housing, better education, and better opportunities. That's what the Welsh Liberal Democrats stand for. And that's why you need to elect Rodney Berman on May the 2nd. Rodney will be following a proud tradition here in Cardiff. The boundaries have changed, as you know, and it is a PR system, as you know. But he does follow a really brilliant tradition. We've had a Lynette Parrott here represent us, and we've had the wonderful Jenny Randison. And not a time goes by or an opportunity when I'm able to speak in Wales that I mention the wonderful Jenny, and we're really delighted to have Pete with us here this evening. Welsh Women's Senedd event only last week, I think it was, and Pete and James were able to join us representing the Randison family, where there are 69 women who've been part of the Senedd throughout its 27-year history. And we mentioned Jenny, and we were able to celebrate Jenny, and we will never forget Jenny. She was such a friend to all of us, and she was a particular friend to me, and I know to Rodney as well. So I am going to finish now, and I'm going to say this to you. In May 2022, I don't want you feeling like Dan Rowlands, who lost by one vote in an election. I don't want you to wake up and think, if only I'd done a little bit more, then we could have got Rodney over the line. when you can't deliver another leaflet, do 20. When you can't knock on another door, my challenge to you is do 50 and tell them